My dear friends in Jesus Christ, can you recall a particular time when you planned to go on a holiday and it got cancelled because you or a family member got sick? What went through your mind? Maybe then you can identify with the two men in today's gospel who believed that Jesus was their Messiah, but then the same Messiah was put to death, and with that their faith and hope were shattered. Ultimately, we see that it was their faith that helped recognize Jesus. The Gospel of today narrates Jesus' encounter with the two of his disciples, who were busy sharing their experiences of fear and lack of faith, and discussing how the death of Jesus and the scandal of the cross had killed hope within them. Today's Gospel assures us that Jesus is walking beside us even though we can't see him. But if we pour out our hearts and pray, he will surely answer our prayers. When we see ourselves as part of this living journey of faith, it's then we see ourselves in light and hope. Why did these two disciples lack faith? Because their faith was weak. Only a strong faith allows our intellects to be illuminated by the light of God's truth. Without that faith, our pride causes us to be spiritually blind, and we can't see God even when He is right in front of us. It was a test for them. They called themselves disciples of Jesus, and hence it was their time to prove it. He taught them that they should love their neighbors as themselves, and they were given a chance to do that. Jesus calls us to treat every single person we meet, no matter what they look like or how they treat us, with love just as He did. Do we see Jesus in everyone we meet? If we did, I think it would change the way we treat people. When we share what is in our hearts, Jesus listens. Then gradually and gently, He will shed His light and draws us to Himself. In Emmaus, we ponder how much Jesus not only wants to spend time with us, but desires to remain with us. Jesus gives us not just ordinary bread, but His very self. All we need is to be open and hungry to receive Him, satisfied and strengthened by His word and the Eucharist. The two disciples courageously headed back on the road to Jerusalem. Jesus was alive within them. They were resurrected. Fear, disbelief, and despair dissolved into faith, hope, and zeal. Let's speak to Jesus about how the good news of His resurrection gives us the experience of life in abundance. They failed to recognize the risen Lord because they were locked down in their sight. Similarly, we are all undergoing this lockdown, but we must remember everything is not locked down for us. We still have the sunrise and the sunset, love from the family, learning, relationships, opportunity of working from home, and most of all, hope. Even if everything is locked down, Jesus is the only key to open everything in this time of disappointment and uncertainty. The Emmaus experience has got three phases to it. Firstly, the journey towards Jerusalem. Jesus talking with them and explaining the scriptures. Secondly, in Emmaus, Jesus goes in to stay with them and breaks the bread. Thirdly, having recognized Jesus, they immediately leave for Jerusalem to proclaim what they had experienced. Similarly, in our lives too, the first two phases takes place in the Eucharist, while the third phase happens outside the Eucharist. Having been nourished by the Eucharist, we go out to live the Eucharist, that is, to share and bear witness to what we had experienced in the Eucharist. And it is only in the breaking of the bread the disciples recognize Jesus. In our lives, too, we are called to recognize Him in the Holy Eucharist through our faith. Holy Scriptures and the Holy Eucharist are the two best ways of knowing Christ. What is our takeaway from today's reading? First, let us ask the Lord to increase our faith. As our Holy Father says, faith is not a light that scatters all our darkness, but a lamp that guides our steps in the night. Second, let us invite Jesus to stay with us, especially in times of disappointment and sorrow. For faith is not hoping that God can, it's knowing that God will. Third, let us increase our knowledge of Scripture. As St. Jerome says, ignorance of the Scripture is the ignorance of Christ. God bless and have a pleasant day.